Welcome to another episode of the Market Makers in Middle East and Africa podcast. I am your host Abrar Hussain. Today I speak to a special guest, Miguel Rio-Tinto, Group Chief Digital and Information Officer at Emirates NBD, one of the largest bank in Middle East, North Africa and Turkey region. Miguel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure being here, Abrar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miguel. Miguel, decades of experience in consulting, banking, C-level roles. Tell us a bit about yourself and your story.
Very good. So, Miguel Rio-Tinto, unfortunately, nothing to do with the Rio-Tinto mining company. So, I'm Portuguese, born in Lisbon. I'm an engineer at heart. So, I graduated in electrical engineering and computer science. Decided to do an MBA to learn a little bit about business and joined a consulting company, McKinsey & Company, where I've been for many years. Of course, reached partner there, had the fortunate experience of working all over the world, fell in love with financial services, served many sectors, but financial services really was my passion while at McKinsey, and ended up in Emirates NBD. In 2017, I came to Dubai, joined Emirates NBD as Chief Information Officer and then Chief Digital Officer later on.
Perfect. What I understand that banking is a very competitive industry and in Middle East, North Africa and Turkey region as well. How does Emirates NBD stand out in this competitive market?
So, and this is actually one of the reasons why I decided to join Emirates NBD. I think there is a fantastic understanding from the board, from the executive committee at Emirates NBD, that banking nowadays, modern banking, is all about technology. And technology is actually at the core of everything that you do. It's like a factory in banking is actually your systems, your applications. That is very well understood in the bank. It's actually one of the key differentiators in Emirates NBD. I would say from the moment that Emirates Bank merged with Emirates NBD Bank in 2008, the bank has been very innovative. It has been a flagship of innovation here in Dubai and actually in the UAE and in the region. But more recently, the bank really decided to invest in technology and digital like no other bank in the region, and I would say even in the world. And I think we have been quite successful in actually catering to customer needs, to customer behavior, to the financial needs of customer through digital. And that is, in my view, what actually differentiates the bank the most.
Wow. So you managing the chief digital and the IT office, how do you see technology creating that differentiation, Miguel, in this?
So it's actually an interesting point. So you see, I have a dual role. I'm both Chief Information Officer, so the traditional role of managing the IT teams, and I'm Chief Digital Officer, so bringing in competencies like design, like process engineering, digital transformation into the mix as well. So managing all of this in a bank is actually a challenge, correct? And not just managing these teams, bringing them all together. How do you organize? Our team is relatively big, so we have almost 2,000 people between IT and digital, and the issue is not just how do you work in IT and digital, but our impact comes through the business. So you actually have to manage IT and digital in a strong partnership with business. And this was one of the traits of our recent transformation over the last 5 years is how do you create an operating model? How do you create an organization that actually is fully embedded with the business? It's not like IT and digital on one side, business on the other, throw over the wall whatever you need and your requirements, and then IT will deliver that. There is a good understanding in MSMD that the impact in business comes from the blending of this business and digital and IT, and that's actually my most important responsibility is make all of that work.
Wow, perfect. Yeah, this is what I heard from a lot of people, that creating that harmony and that collaboration, I think, is the biggest challenge. So, how do you manage that?
So in 2017, so actually look at the following. The bank in 2017 had quite an innovative value proposition, but inside it was quite a traditional bank in IT. A lot of waterfall processes, so the projects were run a lot waterfall. Delivery would happen across periods of 6 months, 8 months, 1 year sometimes. A business would define requirements, give them to IT. IT would develop, then business would test, then things would not be, aligned with what the requirements were. So I would say that one of the key aspects of transformation over the last 5 years is how do we change this? And the approach Emirates NBD took was, okay, how did the best companies in the world that do this very proficiently, what did they do? And in IT, in technology as a whole, there's no silver bullet. So it's a combination of what technology are they using, what stacks are they using, how are they organized, how do they blend with business, how do they manage the projects. So the bank looked outside and took examples like Spotify, for example. How did Spotify and at that time 500 engineers in Spotify, how did they organize themselves to have this agility, this ability to deliver so fast? We visited them. One important aspect was the agile way of working, right? You can have a 1,000-man team, but you don't manage it like a 1,000-man team. You manage teams which are 10, 12 at a time. So the teams have a clear ownership of digital products like a mobile app. These squads, as we call them, they are responsible for that scope of work. You consistently drive common architecture, common standards, but these guys have ownership of their digital products. And this is how you bring, a scale organization into being managed like, very small teams that are very flexible and that are able to deliver very fast.
Now, I read that Emirates NBD went on a 1 billion dirham digital transformation program, which is quite massive, $270 million. So what changes were implemented in that, and how the management and yourself, decided that, look, we have to take that massive transformation program?
So as I told you, so that understanding in 2016, 17, what is the reference out there in terms of who manages technology proficiently? The board and the ExCo and our CEO, Shane Nelson, having recognized that we need to be the best in the world in managing technology. So we actually got inspired from the best players out there. So first of all, we had to change the infrastructure and the tech stack, right? Then we looked at who's nimble in terms of delivering. Spotify, they are not organized in a waterfall type of model. They don't follow those processes. They have these small squads. These squads aggregate in tribes. They call them tribes of garages. They have clear ownership of digital products, the mobile app of the bank, the online channel. So a big transformation on organization and operating model. Then they had a different philosophy from the banks, which is, okay, you don't just rely on vendors for your technology know-how. You have to embed it inside as well. So how do you drive your destiny on architecture? How do you drive your destiny in terms of solutioning of and ownership of the architecture? So we had to bring talent in. We actually 40% of the people we have currently were not there 3 years ago. They were onboarded as part of this transformation. Then we had to do a big rationalization of application architecture. Cybersecurity is very important now. So how do you embed security in everything that you do? So big transformation program. More than 100 individual initiatives. Over the last 4 years, I upgraded 8 core systems in 8 geographies, just to give you an example of one of those initiatives. And I believe now, particularly from 2021-22 onward, we are seeing the benefits of that. A lot of that now can be leveraged for business impact and innovation.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, there's a massive transformation, Miguel. Now, coming to banking as a whole, how do you see banking evolve in next 5 to 10 years? And do you see that technology will play a very big role in that?
I do believe that technology will be the single most important driver of what will happen in banking in 5 to 10 years. Technology will be at the center of that. So you're seeing that customer behavior shifting towards acceptance of digital channels. So they want to do everything via their mobile app or online channel, correct? So you need to figure out, how do I make all products and services that I have currently available to them inside their pocket with their mobile phone, which is that's the first one. You're seeing the advent of open finance. In some countries in Europe, in the US, the regulators started earlier, Singapore, Hong Kong. So 4 years ago, 5 years ago, regulation came out on open finance. We are now having a big push here in the region with Saudi having pushed the open finance regulation, and now the UAE as well. I believe that banks having to expose their data and having to expose their products and services to third parties will be a big driver of innovation and integration of those third parties with banking. I believe blockchain will play a big role. There is you have now our central bank. Just 2 days ago in the Dubai Fintech Summit, they actually were actually talking about the central bank digital currency. What will happen when we will have e-dirham, so the digital currency, and we will have wallets available from the central bank? What will happen there? So I believe that digital currency, blockchain will play a big role. There are many problems in financial services that we solved previously by creating a trusted party in the middle, and everybody talks to that trusted party. If you have a ledger which can be shared with everybody, a lot of those problems can be solved in a much different way. Things like exchanges, where it's you have to transact a security with a counterparty. The exchange is in the middle. I believe that through blockchain, a lot of that will disappear. The need for decentral parties will disappear, and trust will be established as part of the chain. So I do believe that technology will be the biggest force in banking, in transforming banking over the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh, wow, that's I believe a very fast change and a lot of innovation happening. So how do you and the CDIO office make sure that Emirates NBD is future ready, and how do you drive innovation?
So a very good question. So how do you drive innovation? So at Emirates NBD, there's a fundamental belief that innovation and use of these technologies must be there to serve business and to drive business impact. So one of the things I strive always in the digital office and in my technology teams is to be very embedded with the business, because I believe that innovation will come from them. At Emirates NBD, I see my colleagues in business, constantly figuring out, so how do I solve this problem? I need to issue a credit card instantly on the app for you. How do I do that if I have more than 8 humans in the chain to take decisions on risk, on know your customer, on fraud? How do I take those decisions from humans and actually give you a fantastic user experience, and you click a button and you have a credit card in your app that you can now start using directly with Apple Pay or Google Pay? So they are the ones that challenge us on that, and we are constantly working with them to find these new challenges. And these challenges are constant. Then we interact with the internal teams. As we discussed, finding fintechs that could help solve these problems is also a way for us to accelerate and to be able to deliver these solutions faster. So I would answer your question in the following way. So we are completely aligned and embedded with business. There is no digital in Emirates NBD outside of retail, outside of business banking and corporate banking. There's no digital outside of that. My role is to lead and serve through business to create that impact.
Perfect. And you touched base on fintech. That was my next question. We see a lot of fintechs coming in, peer-to-peer lending, BNPL, mobile wallets. Do you see them as a competition, or do you see them as a party to collaborate with? And how you're working with them to kind of drive innovation and
I would say, so there are two different realities. One is fintechs, so small innovative startups focused on the financial services world that are figuring out solutions using technology in an innovative way, in a fast way, and that we can leverage them. For me, that is a huge opportunity. That's one angle. I'm more worried about tech fins, meaning the big tech companies, the Googles, the Apples, and entering the financial services world. But starting with the fintechs, this is we are constantly looking outside to see if there are companies that have a solution for problems that we have identified internally. And we are also doing the other way around, which is we are constantly engaging with the businesses, with the business areas in Emirates NBD, and not just the commercial areas, but also compliance, risk, operational risk. So all of these areas, we are engaging with them and figuring out what are the problems you have. And of course, there's always, we discuss and we see, is there a solution internally for this? Or should we look at the solution outside? And we've laid out a network of partners worldwide, because fintechs, it's not just the local fintechs. There are fintechs in the US around Silicon Valley, in Europe around Berlin and other places, so Singapore. So we have laid out a network of partners that we partner with. And we typically go to them with very specific challenges. So, for example, we have, every time anybody does a payment or a transfer, I need to do a screening of that. Is that a genuine customer doing a transaction, or is that a fraud, or is that even money laundering, right? So I'm obliged to do that. That is a hassle in terms of internal effort to do that at the scale of Emirates NBD. So the problem is, how do we do that more efficiently? Are there solutions so that they can detect and have more relevant alerts than the ones I have currently? Can I minimize the internal effort to review that manually? Can I provide a fantastic user experience so that the customer says pay and the payment is gone, is done, right? Because the machine decided it and not a human. So that's how we engage. We are looking outside for innovative stuff, and we are looking inside for problems that fintechs can solve.
And
on TechFins is a different thing, because
this is where I was coming. That do you see the big tech companies trying to come into banking? We heard about Apple, Google. Do you see it as a challenge?
So look at the two examples that you have recently, and I'll talk about Apple because those are two very relevant examples. So Apple, in certain markets, is offering a credit card now. So Apple is doing buy now, pay later. It is offering fantastic conditions on that product. Just recently, they announced a savings account with a 4.25 interest rate in the US. In 4 days, they had 1 billion in deposits in that savings account. And so I would be more worried from a competition standpoint from the TechFins than the fintechs. The fintechs, I think, the fintechs are eager to work with us. They would love to work with us. They believe also that impact from what they're doing will come if they partner with big banks like Emirates NBD.
Yeah. Now, we see a lot of buzzwords on AI. From last, it kind of, it's on the peak from last 2-3 months. But do you see AI playing a big role in banking, and is Emirates NBD planning to use it in near future?
So absolutely. So there again, our CEO Shane Nelson has said it many times. Of course, we have to be very good at technology, and the enabler that we also should look at is data and advanced analytics. And why is that? So if you think that you want to provide a fantastic user experience to your customer, so you are in your app and you want to have journeys where you do a payment, do a transfer, issue a credit card, onboard an account completely seamless and transparently, there is a huge decision-making that happens on the back. Traditional approaches to rules-based decision-making does not cover it. You can do 30% of the cases, but not the rest. The AI, machine learning, which is the type of AI that we were doing already for 3-4 years now, can solve that. I'll give you a concrete example. We found and this joins AI with a fintech. We found a fintech, an Indian fintech, that is able with your email, if you give it the email, the phone, and the city where you live, they can give you, with a high confidence, a rating if you are a fraud, you just created these accounts, or if you are actually a genuine customer that has lived, for example, in Dubai for the last 3 years. So they can, because they with AI, they have a model where they scan data that is available in the internet. They can figure out if your email was just created, if they can figure out, even if your profile on Facebook or in Instagram is a private one, they can figure out, okay, this gentleman only has one friend on Instagram. It probably is not genuine.
Yeah.
So they can figure that out. So for us, this is where there are huge applications of this. And I believe it is now having an impact on what we are offering, but we are just touching the surface. We're scratching the surface. It's going to be huge. That is more of the traditional machine learning AI, correct? You have now generative AI coming in. So we need to also figure out where can we use it in banking. And I believe there will be huge applications. There is still not this killer application in banking. I mean, everybody's talking, let's use it on our chatbots. Let's use it, for example, for legal to review a document quickly. But I believe again, there we are scratching the surface. The opportunity on generative AI is huge as well.
Yeah. And coming to the customer experience, you touched base on it in brief. But one challenge is you have technology and then customer needs. How do you bridge it to make sure that the customer experience take the precedence, and how you make sure that the customer experience is delivered in a perfect way?
So that's a very, very good question. So everything should start with the view of the customer first. So when you're building anything, a digital product, when the bank is building, it should not be driven only by the opinion of the people, the bankers that are inside the bank. You need to have that outside view. Over the last 40 years, we have brought into the digital team a set of competencies that banks traditionally don't have, which is design. We brought in a design office, so designers, and design means set up, a forum to hear customers, drive product design from hearing the customers, people that are very experienced at, UX and UI, user experience, user interface design. No longer these just internal people drive, the button should be here. No. It should be driven by what the customer, the journey, how many screens are there? Is it complicated for the customer or not? We currently have about 50 designers in Emirates NBD in the design office. They are working day to day with those squads that I just mentioned in building those digital products. So in fact, when we want to build anything, a feature on our mobile app, the first discussion we have is, okay, what problem are we solving for the customer? The second one is, show me the journey. How does it look like for the customer? Mm-hmm. And this is not done by engineers. It's not done by only by business people. It's done by designers. They are the ones bringing the journey. Okay, this is how it should look like. I think that it will be a critical competency. Customer centricity, this has to be driven from the top and from the bottom up. And then bringing these non-traditional roles that are required to actually fulfill a fantastic customer experience.
Yeah, that's a very, very good idea to have designers and design the whole customer journey. Miguel, coming to the challenges of the banking, one thing you mentioned is big tech coming into banking, but what other challenges you see for banking in coming years?
So there is more recently, I think, driven by geopolitical issues and so on, we see regulation coming in. And one of the things that we are observing is, for example, data residency. So regulation, I think, is going to be one of the challenges we're going to face going forward. And beyond that, a lot of other regulatory items on compliance, on risk management, on regulatory reporting. I think that will be a big one. I think, as we discussed, digital technologies will be a challenge, an opportunity and a challenge as well. I believe open finance, again, an opportunity and a challenge. So you imagine what it is to be a bank in this country with a market share of 25%. So we have 25% of the customers. And now from one day to the other, you are mandated to open, subject to customer consent and agreement, you're mandated to open your accounts and your data to third parties, correct?
Yeah.
So imagine, you'd be a sitting duck, now, and you could have a wallet app from Karim, for example, directly accessing your accounts not having to go through Emirates NBD to authorization, just asking the customer, can I get that data from you that is sitting there in Emirates NBD? Can I do a debit in your account? If you allow me, I don't even ask Emirates NBD. So that is a challenge. But on the other hand, if you look at the opportunity, for Emirates NBD, it's also a huge opportunity, because the same way we are forced to give our data, others will have to give their data as well, other banks. So if you think about, you would probably love, if you have a fantastic app from Emirates NBD and you love the app, wouldn't it be great if I could have my accounts from the other banks there, aggregate them and use that? So we can offer that, correct? And if even for example, take decisions on, I want to give you a personal loan, and you just say, yes, please check my transactions in this other bank, which is my main bank, and I can scan that and immediately tell you, yes, you can have this loan. So that the opportunities are huge, but you need to focus on that angle and not just on the defensive, because it's inevitable. You'll have to open your APIs and open your data to the third parties.
Yeah, and I see technology playing a big role in solving those problems and making sure that the bank is future ready.
That's a very, very good point. So in order to actually take advantage of those opportunities, you need to have the right infrastructure, the right operating. You need to be modern in your IT stack, because if you cannot easily integrate, if you cannot build these complex orchestrations integrating with the other banks and so on, then you don't have the ability to quickly innovate and build on open finance to offer innovative products. So that's also there's a clear understanding in our teams that our tech stack that we have currently, our operating model, our blending with business, puts us in a fantastic position to leverage open finance. So we are not afraid of open finance. I think it's going to be a huge opportunity, but we have to exert our digital muscle now. We have this ability. We need to use it.
Yeah. And you took a large transformation program, $270 million of investment, and managing a team of 2,000 people, Miguel, I think is huge. What advice will you give to your fellow CTOs, CIOs, or chief digital officers, how they can take up a large transformation program at a scale and deliver it successfully?
Yeah. So this was a very large program and a very tough one. So I don't know. So I'm a marathon runner. I ran more than 40 marathons. I ran all the big 5 marathons. Boston, New York. So marathon is very tough. No, it's very tough. It's 42 kilometers, and a digital transformation program is like a marathon. So you have to endure, and you have to be very organized. You have to know exactly. So a lot of things are dependent on one another. You cannot modernize this application if the infrastructure is not in place. And so there are a lot of dependencies, cross dependencies. So you have to be very organized, have a clear view of how you're going to do this over the phases of the program. It cannot be done in shorter time. Typically, it's a 3-4 year program. If you try to do it in shorter time, it's impossible. But if you also try to do it in a longer time, the momentum and energy of the organization is going to die down like a marathon. If you try to run a marathon in 2 hours, only the champions can do it. If you try to run a marathon in 8 hours, you'll die because you'll not be able to run so long. So there's a right time to do it. In our case, I was very blessed to have the support of the top management. And this means sometimes when you're transforming technology, you need to go to business and say, I know you want this feature, but I cannot give you this year. I only can give you the next year, because now I need to transform. I need to upgrade this, and I'll build it to you on the upgraded system, not on the legacy one. And these dialogues are very tough because business is under pressure. These guys are in the market. They have discussions with their customers, and they cannot offer what their customer is asking for. I was very blessed. So I had tremendous support from the CEO. The CEO was meeting us on this transformation program every fortnight with specific decisions to be taken. How is progress? What we need to decide? Business was coming and say, look, I need this feature. And we would present and say, look, cannot give it now. We need to prioritize this. And he would take this decision. We were tremendously supported. And without that, we would not succeed. So there are, I would say, 3 things. Be very organized, prepare to endure, bring talent in. You need talent because a lot of this stuff is very detailed and knowledge specific, and get strong support from the top leadership. I think this is the most important.
My last question, Miguel. What are the good things of being a CDIO, managing large team, critical digital transformation program, making sure that the bank's infrastructure is running 24/7 so the customers doesn't have any problem? So tell us the good things as well.
So I'll give you my personal view. I started by saying I'm an engineer, correct? So I love technology. So every day I wake up, I think this is my dream job. I can tell you that for sure. This is my dream job. Coming to a bank this size, with this appetite for innovation, in a place like Dubai, where it's a fantastic place, where all conditions are laid out for you to be successful, correct? For the government, the infrastructure. So for me, this is my dream job. It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job at all. Because a bank needs to run 24/7. If you are any time of the day and you have an interruption of service of 10 minutes, in a bank like ours, where you have 1/3 of the market, you will have customers being impacted, and that's very bad. So it's a 24/7 job many times. It's the factory of the bank, the heart of the bank cannot stop, and it's IT, so you are responsible for it. So there's a big element on making sure that I have reliable systems, that I have reliable processes, that we do huge control on change management, on managing the operations on a day-to-day basis. But then there's the other element of innovation, projects, delivering new features to customers. Dream job completely. So I think you have to be, an engineer at heart, to be very honest. I have my dream job. I don't think I could be a head of sales for retail. I have no ability to be a salesman. I'm an engineer at heart. So you have to have a vocation to this. And then endure a little bit. But in the end, I'm very satisfied with the job that I have. I think I have a dream job here.
Perfect. And thank you very much, Miguel, for coming.
Thank you.
It's a great conversation, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.